Part 2. The One Book Millions Method Funnel. Chapter 6. The Math of Simple. Quote, "Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple. But it's worth it in the end, because once you get there, you can move mountains." End quote. Steve Jobs. Before we dive into the specifics of how to sell 100 plus copies of your book per day, I first need to teach you the most important concept in all of marketing. If your goal is to reach $100,000 or more per month in your business, the path to those numbers is an issue of economics, not art. It's a simple mathematical equation that once you learn it, memorize it, and apply it to all your marketing efforts, will allow you to scale far beyond an easy $100,000 per month. Specifically, this equation is known as the balancing act. It looks like this. When CPS is less than or equal to AOV, scale is imminent and guaranteed. Let's break this down into its individual parts. CPS. CPS stands for cost per sale. No matter how you plan to market your short book, whether it's paid traffic or organic, there is a cost associated with the time or money you spend trying to convince someone to purchase your product. Therefore, each unit, each copy of the book you sell has a cost attached. Sometimes it costs $3 to sell a $5 book. Sometimes it costs $20 to sell a $5 book. Numerous factors such as market competition, power of the hook, scaling costs, etc., factor into the average cost per sale of your book. Knowing this number is critical to being able to scale your book sales. You will only be able to sell thousands of books per month and get all the benefits we've been talking about so far if your CPS is less than or equal to your AOV. No exceptions. AOV. AOV stands for Average Order Value. Average order value is a straightforward concept to understand. It is the amount of money someone spends overall when they purchase your book. To most beginner marketers, you might say the average order value of selling a $5 book is simply $5. The buyer spent $5 when they bought your book. Therefore, for the balancing act equation, or when CPS is less than or equal to AOV, scale is imminent and guaranteed, to help you scale, all you need is to figure out how to sell your book for $5 or less. But that's dangerous thinking, and why most books fail. Trying to sell your book for less than $5 is a beginner tactic that will not get you to $100,000 a month or more. Remember, to make a lot of money, you need to get in front of a lot of people. That is not cheap. Therefore, one of the key tactics to the One Book Millions method strategy is figuring out how to spend as much money as possible, as profitably as possible, by increasing average order value. Let me give you an example. If you decide to sell your book for $5, and on the checkout page allow someone to add the audio version for an additional $10, then you've just increased AOV. Let's assume that out of everyone who purchases the $5 book, 30% purchase the $10 audiobook upgrade. How does this affect our average order value? It's quite simple. On average, for everyone that spends $5, they will spend an additional $3. 30% of $10 equals $3. Therefore, our actual average order value is $5 plus $3 equals $8. What does this mean for us trying to scale? It means that we can profitably spend more than $5 to sell a $5 book and still come out ahead in profit and the ability to spend even more strategically. Why would we want to spend more than $5 to sell a $5 book? When you give yourself an increase in average order value, you can do things like hiring someone else to run Facebook ads and earn enough money from the sale of the book, plus a portion of those book buyers upgrading to the audiobook to cover both ad costs and the cost of the person running your traffic. You can also outspend your competitors. One brilliant piece of advice I got from Dan Kennedy was, "He who can outspend his competitor wins." If your goal is to become the number one person in your market, spend $8 to sell a $5 book, while your competition is struggling to sell their book for $4.50. Additionally, one thing most people don't talk about is that as you spend more money on ads, the cost of ads increases. So you might be able to sell 10 books a day at $5 cost per sale. But once you try to start selling 50 or more, It might bump up to $6.50 cost per sale. There are several reasons for this, including limited ad inventory, ad frequency, and the plain old greed of major traffic platforms wanting to take more of your money. In other words, by understanding the simple balancing act equation, you can successfully control and predict your ability to scale. It works 100% of the time. It allows you to write yourself a blank check to do whatever you need to do, to hire whoever you need to hire, and to grow as quickly as you want to grow. Where most people go wrong with a book is limiting themselves by keeping their AOV low. They don't add upgrades, and they limit their ability to spend by keeping their AOV low. Remember, when CPS is less than or equal to AOV, scale is imminent and guaranteed. The power of the One Book Millions method is that we've perfected the process of increasing AOV to the point where we can outspend any competitor while still turning a profit on the book sales and filling our call calendars with readers of our work. Here's the beauty of adding upgrades to increase AOV. You don't have to wait for the money you've spent on ads to hit your account 3 weeks from now. Many online marketing funnels and strategies require you to spend a lot upfront and cross your fingers, hoping you'll see a return 7 days later. Take the webinar, for example. 3 days of ad spend to get people to register for the webinar. Webinar happens, 3 to 5 days of email follow-ups, closing day of the promotion. It could be a week or more from the time you start spending on ads before you ever see the first sale from a webinar. With the One Book Millions method, you'll see sales the same day you start ads. We typically get a 1.75x ROAS within 24 hours or less. That doesn't include those readers who book a call and buy our premium offers. That's just from the book's sales and the upgrades in the OBMM funnel. In other words, you can be profitable today. You can scale today. In the next section of this book, I'll show you how to add upgrades to your book that are easy to implement and add value to the book reader. This is the secret to rapid scale. When you build a One Book Millions method funnel, what you are really doing is turning a $5 book into an average order value of $50 or more. This means if you wanted, you could hire an ads person to scale your book. You could hire a content team to scale your book. You can finally afford to hire a PR team to get featured. You can hire a virtual assistant to cover customer service and answer questions and sell your book in your inbox. You can hire a copywriter. You can hire a designer. You can hire a team. You can do what needs to be done to scale as quickly as possible, and the AOV of your book funnel will cover all the costs. Or if you don't want to hire a team and you'd like to do it all yourself, it means you have an even bigger advertising budget. It means you have more wiggle room to either mess up, not have to be the best, or just spend more to scale even faster. Here's what else the balancing act equation means for people like you and me. As long as you always reflect on the truth in this equation, you will never fail in scaling using this method. Never. Balancing the equation guarantees success. Here's what I mean. Sometimes when we work with a client or launch our own funnel, CPS is greater than AOV. Often, this is a result of things out of our control. Maybe we launched a book during a hectic season when advertising costs are higher than normal. Maybe we have a client who works in a very competitive niche where everything is expensive, and the market is extremely jaded and skeptical. Maybe the hook for our book wasn't as strong as we had hoped, etc. There are 100 reasons why cost per sale ends up being what it ends up being. Of this entire equation, what it costs to sell a book is the thing you have the least control over. What you have complete and total control over, however, is the AOV. Let's say, for example, that we return to the $5 book with the $10 audio version upgrade that converts at 30%. Remember, this gives us an $8 average order value. But let's say that for some reason, it costs us $15 to sell that $5 book. That means for every book we sell, we lose on average $7. $8 AOV minus $15 CPS equals minus $7. In this case, our balancing act equation is off balance. $15 is not less than or equal to $8. Therefore, scale is not imminent, nor is it guaranteed. The beginner marketer not trained in the One Book Millions method will say that this funnel and this strategy is a failure. They'd be wrong. In truth, what we know from our balancing act equation is that we only need to boost our AOV by $7, and scaling will, in fact, be guaranteed. You see, the equation told us exactly what we need to fix. All we have to do is fix it. We could add more expensive upgrades, like a suite of tools and templates for $200 that book buyers could purchase. Let's assume readers purchase this $200 upgrade of tools and templates at a rate of 10%. That means, on average, people will spend $5 on the book, $3 on the audiobook, and $20 on the tools and templates upgrade. 10% of readers buying the $200 upgrade equals $20 added to AOV. Remember, this is an average. That means our AOV is now $5 plus $3 plus $20 equals $28. By adding another upgrade to our book, we went from losing $7 per sale to now almost doubling our return on ad spend on just the book funnel itself. This doesn't count selling your services or courses or coaching, etc. Let's look at it inside the balancing act equation. When CPS, $15, is less than or equal to AOV, $28, scale is imminent and guaranteed. As $15 is less than or equal to $28, the scale is now imminent and guaranteed, thanks to the $200 upgrade we added to our OBMM book funnel. I cannot overstate the importance of this equation in guiding not only the success of the One Book Millions method strategy, but in all marketing. This equation is true regardless of the mechanism you use. It just so happens that with the OBMM book funnel, it's easier to create additional upgrades more quickly because the price points are so low. For example, if you were running a funnel which required more expensive upgrades to offset prohibitive acquisition costs, you have less ability to flex and adjust. For example, if you have a cost per acquisition of $3,000 on a $1,000 average order value, you can imagine how difficult it will be to come up with something valuable enough to add, on average, another $2,000 to your average order value. This is why the OBMM book funnel strategy is so effective in today's ever-changing market. It allows rapid change to the economics of your business with minimal effort and input. You can test quickly, you can create quickly, and you can adjust your AOV as quickly as you need. Now that we understand the basic math behind what drives this unique method to selling books and creating better customers, clients, and students, let's look at the specific page breakdown and what an OBMM book funnel looks like. In the following pages, I will be walking you through the exact assets you need to build to achieve scale through the One Book Millions method strategy successfully. At first glance, the moving pieces might be intimidating, especially if you are new to the concept of funnels and internet marketing. However, don't let initial impressions keep you from the long-term benefits that this process can provide. If you need help, that's exactly what my team and I do for a living day in and day out. Don't hesitate to book a call to chat with my amazing team. Please visit peacefulprofits.com/call to chat. We offer multiple services to help you accomplish every single step listed in this book. Additionally, you wouldn't be an entrepreneur if you didn't have a little bit of scrappiness inside of you. Embrace that now and realize that to achieve something new has to take place. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. This is going to be a different process than you are used to. That's why it works. That's why it's going to give you different results than you've ever experienced. So, with that in mind, please take a look at Figure 1 in the next chapter. These are the pages and assets that you will need to create to maximize your average order value. Remember, by maximizing our average order value, we can free ourselves from the limiting constraints of any marketing mistakes or strategy miscalculations we make. In other words, it doesn't matter how much it costs for us to sell a book. We have the power through this methodology to offset that cost and even profit by deploying the funnel steps I'll be sharing with you in the next section. Key chapter takeaways. The balancing act equation. When CPS is less than or equal to AOV, scale is imminent and guaranteed. Of this entire equation, you have the least control over CPS and complete control over AOV. To increase AOV, add upgrades to your book. This is the secret to rapid scale.